Commissioner and I have executive session right after this. So we have till 1:30, Commissioner.
Right.
So it's a busy day.
Yes.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We'll call this this meeting to order. Commissioner Jones is out, so Commissioner Repart, it's you and I today. We have the minutes from our meeting in August. You have any questions or concerns about those? Okay, we'll go ahead and receive them as filed. Next, we have 3 items for discussion. The first one is an amendment to City Commission policy on business improvement zones.
I will introduce it and then ask Ms. Elise to step up to the podium. So this is an important piece of legal work that we've taken under advisement of our legal counsel to make sure that we update our current policy related to business zones, and as we formerly know them as BIDs, and making sure that there's been some legislative changes over the last couple years, and we want to make sure that we abide by those, and more importantly, that we can help empower those BIDs and to use their, I would say, revenue-generating powers, if you will, to fund their particular programs and policy goals. So the plan is to take this, or to give you a summary today and bring this to the September 28th Commission for approval. And I'd like to invite Jess Elise to the podium to give an overview of the key policy changes that we've taken, again, under advisement of our legal counsel. And before she begins, I also want to congratulate her publicly, because last time we weren't able to she has been promoted from the administrative analyst position who manages all the corridor improvement authorities to coordinator 1 position, and so we are in the process of backfilling her position, but wanted to call in her promotion internally and as we help to retain talent within the city. So with that, Ms. Elise.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll just really quickly go through the proposed changes to the policy, which are outlined in your memo, so you can see those as well. So one of the key changes is that the mayor can appoint 1 board member with confirmation from the city commission. So this is in line with the legislation. Obviously, currently the mayor does appoint all of the boards, or all of the members to the board. Special assessment revenues are no longer going to be held at the city, but will be transferred to a separate financial institution in the name of whatever the business improvement zone is. And then our primary roles as the city will be to approve the establishment of new BIZ, a new business improvement zone, and a new initial plan. And then obviously we will continue to consider special assessments as they come before us come before you every 1 to 5 years. The BIZ has to set a qualifying period for their zone plan, which is no less than 7 years and no longer than 10. And renewals will actually be done by the board with approval from the property owners in that district. And then financial transactions and expenditures are audited annually, and the BIZ board would be required to obtain those services. Obviously, currently the city does do the Uptown bid as part of the city's audit. And then the BIZ boards will provide their own administration and be empowered to enter into their own contracts and make final decisions or financial decisions as outlined in their zone plan. So this is a little bit different, but obviously the funds will be transferred to the BIZ, so we feel as though the administration really lies with those boards, and they are accountable to the property owners that they're getting special assessment revenues from. So that's the summary of the changes. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
So I have a couple questions. So this is really specific to Uptown because they're the only one currently with a bid. Is that correct? It wouldn't impact the downtown improvement district?
It would not. Nope. So we did ask that question. The DID is covered under, I think, the city code. There's a whole thing about that.
That's what I thought. Just wanted to make sure that it didn't impact that. Because I'm on the DDA and we hadn't talked about it. So, and then in regards to appointments, so I would appoint 1 and then the board itself would appoint the others. And so it would be completely removed even from the city commission appointment process. Correct. Other than the 1 designee that I have.
Yep.
And is there expectation that the board member I appoint be an elected official?
That's not stated specifically, so I think that would be up to you.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the rest of the board members, they have to outline who they are in their plan. And then there does have to be some information about how those board members are appointed, how they're removed if that needs to happen, and how replacements happen. So all of that information has to be detailed in their plan as well.
Perfect, that makes sense. All right, those are my questions. Commissioner Repper? Oh, City Manager?
Yeah, just for clarity, and so fundamentally, what other specific things besides governance is the difference between the biz and the bid?
There really isn't. So the way the biz is set up is basically by a vote of property owners, there has to be a petition, and the bid itself is set up by the city. So the city that's really the difference. City manager is the authority of the governance.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Repper, any questions?
Just realize you can't see facial expressions behind the mask.
Yeah, I don't have any other questions. I did wonder about the mayoral appointment, but I mean, I know from my CIA that we're hoping to do this in the future, and so it'll be good to communicate this out to everybody who's considering it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So process, I'm assuming this will come before the full commission for approval?
Yes, on September 28th.
Okay, great.
And just for clarity, the capability, there's no difference in capability in incentivizing any type of economic activity in any year. The capability of both are the same.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's also important is this allows empowerment to the business improvement zone itself and their board to, as another revenue generating activity. So as Commissioner Repart mentioned, you know, if another CIA would like to do this process is now set up. We have a policy and that will help facilitate that for many other corridor improvement authorities that currently do not have business improvement zones.
Thanks. Thank you, Jessica. All right, that will take us to our next item, and this is an update on the Transformational Economic Development Project. So Commissioner Repart, just to give you a little background, this was created in partnership with a number of our community partners, including the county. So that's why you'll see some city-specific as well as county items on here, but ultimately came from a conversation of us wanting to collaborate and come together as a community to identify what are some big transformational projects. As we know, there's going to be significant state and federal funds available for communities across the country. So, City Manager?
Yep, Mayor, I think this is, as you said, just informational only. There's nothing for this body or the city commission to decide today. We're very pleased with our partners in the right place, taking the lead, and along with Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc., as well as Experience Grand Rapids and the Chamber, identifying some of the big, bold, futuristic transformational projects that will help us. And we just talked about our legislative agenda this morning, and one of the priorities, our number one priority, is to support any legislation and activity that spurs economic recovery. And so this is consistent with that item. There were discussions around what are some of the things that will help the region in recovery, and how do we all become aligned in our advocacy efforts, especially when there are different entities that are in Lansing or in DC. We can have the same playbook, at least for priority projects, and leave legislators with something in addition to our own individual agendas. And it really speaks well for the region. So these are 12 projects. They're in no particular prioritization or order. We have everything from development to downtown to some of the countywide issues around affordable housing, which we discussed a little bit this morning, to entertainment opportunities, but also things that are specific priorities to the city of Grand Rapids, as we discussed 201 Market and that corridor. And certainly we've engaged our partners that are higher ed institutions and GBSU, as well as MSU, as well as Grand Rapids Community College, all have significant projects that they've highlighted on this as well. So with us this morning is Tim Miraz. Tim's been really, really helpful, along with Randy, in making sure that there's collaboration among many of the partners. And this has been shared with the Right Place Board and other entities have also shared it with their governing bodies. But this also helps build a framework for some of the other opportunities that not just legislatively, but the economic development grants and applications that may exist. And I know that Tim and Jeremiah have been in discussions about that as well. And Tim, you want to approach the mic and offer a little commentary about how the Right Place has been involved.
Absolutely. Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks for being here, Tim.
Thank you. Thank you. Manager Washington really summed it up pretty well. The real goal behind this is, I think it's safe to say we have kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity here, once in a generation opportunity to get access to billions of dollars in funds at the state and federal level. One of the things we all are also realizing is once the state of Michigan receives funding, much of that will be discretionary. And so it's up to us to collaborate, even within our government affairs and policy advocates out there, that Grand Rapids and Kent County put the same message forward, and that we don't have 18 organizations running in 23 different directions. And so, the idea behind the Transformational 12 or the T12 is all about that. So, other than that, if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
So I don't have any questions, Commissioner Ruppert. I mean, I appreciate the thought that went into this, and that it captures a number of our priorities that have already been talked about at length in the community and throughout the community. And I'm really eager to have a conversation now that we have a new county executive about this idea of a countywide affordable housing effort, which I think is very much aligned with our conversations this morning with a citywide fund. So.
And just real quickly, specifically to that, one of the main idea behind that was, I think the consensus of the group was, we've seen a lot of planning, we've seen a lot of strategy work. The funds that we have identified in there would actually be used for implementation, whether it be revolving loan funds or payment assistance funds or purchasing land or actual implementation funds, not just planning and strategy. So.
Yeah, because Ryan's number this morning for gap financing to meet our goal was 210 million. I think that's what I heard him say anyway, to get to 9,000 units. But also some of these other projects, given the way that we're potentially going to structure the 201 market site, could be ways of putting money into that fund and could generate some revenue for that.
If there's private development on it.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. It all depends, right? It all depends on how it's structured.
So I think for me, and City Manager and I will follow up on this, I think for me, next steps is now that we have this, because I know about the last 6 weeks, there have been meetings to come up with this list of 12, and I know it started at probably a list of 45 and was whittled down.
Very close, very close.
So I'm glad to see that we landed on 12. I think now, what is the plan to identify potential funding streams for each of these projects? And then how do we coordinate that in a really thoughtful way, so that we're being intentional with the use of time and energy and really just capacity, so that we don't miss out on opportunities. I think these next 6 months are going to be key. And so I think that's the conversation we can have in partnership with you and Randy at the Right Place.
Fantastic. Looking forward to it.
Yep. And Mayor, there's a upcoming meeting to begin that alignment. And I know there's a lot of effort going on right now, but actually to storyboard who's doing what and what effort and by when, we'll have that initial conversation, I think sometime next week. Is it?
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. All right, Commissioner, any other feedback?
I don't. Thank you for the information.
Yeah, thank you. All right, and that will take us to our August Development Center report.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioner. Just give you our August update on the Development Center's activity this month. We are continuing to see a positive increase in construction value throughout the city compared to our 2020 numbers, so that's great to see. It's been a very active month with a number of new projects coming through our department, as well as a lot of support that our team has been given to the Art Prize event starting off this week. So they've worked on 15 different locations to coordinate different Art Prize installations. A few other notable projects just to bring to your attention. Mel Trotter's ministry at 225 Commerce was just approved for a $7.5 million renovation to all 3 floors of their facility. Additionally, the project at 1601 Madison was approved for their $8.9 million project for the 50,000 square foot commercial space there, which is exciting to see that come through. Additionally, the 524 Butterworth expansion was approved for the Grand River Aseptic Manufacturing, which is very needed as they are part of the COVID production for the vaccine. And last, Planning Commission will be entertaining a request to allow a 5th story on the 1661 Monroe redevelopment that will allow renovations to that facility and restore that historic building there. Any questions at this time?
No,
Commissioner,
I'm
any
excited to see 45 Lexington as well. I was telling Mr. Gracia that I've seen at least 4 different proposals for that site, and hopefully with all the things that have happened around there, that'll be a successful LIHTC application. And excited to tour Grand River Aseptic Manufacturing this Friday, I think.
Yeah, he'll be there with me.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see that. I drive past it a lot, but it's a beautiful building. I think that their total investment on that site is over $60 million, so that's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's great to see the zoo on here as well. I did a
Yep.
behind the scenes tour with Peter, and he walked me through what the plans were, so that's wonderful to see. Any final questions or comments?
So if I read this correct, Jonathan, the year-to-date number plus the August number would put us ahead of last year.
So
Is that
the
correct?
2021 year-to-date does include the August value.
it does, okay.
It
So
does.
next month we'll
So
pass it.
As of today, actually, I checked the numbers, just where we're at today, we did surpass 2020's construction value. So,
Excellent,
yeah.
wonderful, thank you.
That's good news.
It is.
Yeah.
See that positive movement.
Mayor,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd also like to highlight that we're starting to see the projects come in for Monroe North having to do with Spectrum Health.
Oh, good.
And that's, we have a staff team, many of whom are represented here today, that are helping move that forward. And that's a really critical investment in our medical mile. And actually, now we have kind of a medical mile dog leg, where it's moving up into Monroe North, which is pretty cool. In addition to that, one of the really interesting investments at the Doug Meyer Research Building by MSU is Banff Medical. And that's going to be one of a kind, unique therapy for actually for the world, but particularly for the United States. And going to be headquartered here in Grand Rapids in this facility. So,
Yeah, thanks for highlighting Banff. I've had a chance to tour, and then I spoke at the groundbreaking, and it's really exciting to have them here in Grand Rapids. I'm glad to hear that about Spectrum. I was wondering that last time I was over there, when things would start moving. And then I saw on the Planning Commission agenda was the Remco project on North Monroe, and that potentially could be another significant investment along the river.
it could, and we need, there'll be work to do with them as they move forward to see exactly how that project develops. But yeah, the Baker Furniture Building has been an important development site for a long time.
Yeah, and just to confirm, Eric, we do have plans to connect the trail behind that. Do we have a right-of-way back there?
We do have right-of-way. We're working on connections now to the right-of-way. So we have to get around the rail bridge and back to the back there. So that's the complication we're working through now.
Okay. Yeah, I actually went over there and walked back there after doing my river cleanup on Saturday, and I was trying to imagine what that trail would look like because of the bank is, I would assume, quite challenging.
Yes,
Oh,
it is.
okay.
One last note that city managers has asked me to bring up, just so that we're kind of transparent with where we were in 2019. In anticipating that things kind of continue as they are right now. By the end of this calendar year, we should match the construction value pre-pandemic 2019. So,
Yeah, that's great to hear. And then Commissioner Repart, just as an update as well, at our last Downtown Development Authority meeting, we approved funding for Phase 1 and 2 design of the connectivity between Noble and Monroe North, the Switchback Park. And so I think we talked about it at our Friends Board meeting. But potentially that could be a really significant investment too, to start to connect all that development happening on Michigan and North Monroe with everything happening up in Noble and further up on Michigan Hill.
They don't have to walk up all the stairs that the city manager does.
Well, they don't have to. They can if they want to, like our city manager, but they won't have to.
We need to make sure we keep some design of those stairs for CrossFit.
But city manager, I actually brought that up and said, we need to make sure that those stairs are, stay intact and that they're repaired and they're safe. A lot of people use those stairs.
It's in addition to mobility, it's a great place-making spot for people who want to exercise.
Yeah, and some people would much prefer to take stairs than loop back and forth to go up, so. So yes, that was communicated at the DDA meeting, so. All right, any final questions? All right, then we'll finish that up, and then I'll turn to Mr. Gracia or city manager for any verbal updates.
I have nothing at this time.
Okay, city manager? Eric DeLong? Okay, so with that, we'll go ahead and finish up this meeting, and Commissioner, I'll see you shortly in executive session.
That's right.
Okay,
That's in 6:01.
6:01. Yep.